When you work with SolidWorks, you'll generally be working with three types of files: parts, assemblies, and drawings. We'll be covering each of these in this course, beginning with a focus on creating parts. Parts will be at the center of your designs in SolidWorks. As you'll see later in the course, parts are the basis for creating assemblies and drawings. As we look more closely, we'll see that parts themselves are made up of building blocks called features. There are two types of features: applied features and sketched features. While applied features can be directly applied to parts, sketch features must begin with two-dimensional profiles called sketches. The sketcher is where you create the 2D geometry that will serve as the foundation of three-dimensional features. Sketches are created using simple tools such as lines, rectangles, and circles. These shapes can be defined very precisely using dimensions and something called geometric relations that we'll look at a bit later. First, we'll look at a concept that creates confusion very often for new users: the concept of Edit Sketch mode. By default, when you begin a new part file, you'll be in a mode called Editing Part mode. If you look down here in the corner, you'll see that SolidWorks tells me I'm in Editing Part mode. If you don't see this message bar, go to your View drop-down menu and select Status Bar. Now you should see this bar at the bottom that says Editing Part. In SolidWorks, when you're creating parts, you can be in one of two modes: Editing Part or Editing Sketch. If you keep an eye on the status bar, you'll always know what mode you're currently working in. So why are there two modes? Well, the reason there are two modes is because every feature you create as you build a 3D model falls into one of two categories: either a sketched feature or an applied feature. If you want to create a sketched feature, you have to use Editing Sketch mode. If you want to create an applied feature, you do it in Editing Part mode. Now that you know there are two modes for creating these different types of features, the question is how we switch between the two modes. There are actually several ways. One is to simply begin creating a sketch-based feature. If you take a look at the command manager, there are very few icons that are not grayed out. If I hover my mouse over each icon, you'll notice that the only two available feature commands are the extruded boss and the revolved boss. These are both sketch-based features. I'll select the extruded boss icon and see what happens. Over on the left, you'll see a yellow box prompting me to pick one of the planes which have appeared in the graphics area. You have the option of selecting the front, top, or right plane. Now, whenever SolidWorks wants you to select a plane to sketch on, you'll see a small box next to your pointer. I'll click on the front plane. With the front plane selected as my sketch plane, the status bar down here at the bottom of the screen changes to indicate that I'm now editing a sketch. There are other indicators telling me that I'm in Editing Sketch mode. First of all, a sketch is listed in the Feature Manager tree. You also see these transparent images show up. These are buttons that we'll take a look at a bit later, but also indicate that I'm in Edit Sketch mode. Finally, and most importantly, is that the Command Manager has automatically changed to display the Sketch toolbar. Once you're in Edit Sketch mode, to get out, you can do one of two things. You can click the Exit Sketch button on the Sketch toolbar, or you can click one of the buttons here in the corner. The pencil button is the same as the Exit Sketch button. It simply closes the sketch you're working on. If you click the red X icon, you have the option of discarding any changes you may have made. Earlier, I got into Edit Sketch mode by clicking on the Extruded Boss feature and choosing a sketch plane to begin a sketch for that feature. That is one way of starting a sketch. I can also get into Edit Sketch mode by switching to my sketch tools and clicking the Sketch button on the Sketch toolbar. As you can see, by clicking Sketch, this will also lead to a prompt asking me to select a 2D plane to sketch on.